is. So he dropped me back off at our apartment, and he had to work a 4 to 12 shift that night. So he worked for a treatment center as well as a behavioral health technician. And throughout this time of my life, I had been using, and I was surrounded by sober guys. So it was very tough for me to live that life. And in my experience, whenever you have a period of sobriety and you go back out and continue to relapse and use, it doesn't affect you the same. It's literally the worst thing possible because you know what works and you're going against it.
So there's that guilt with it too,
and
like
just
a different
remorse.
kind of guilt.
Yeah, every single day, and it makes you not want to live, to be honest with you. So my roommate dropped me off back at the house, and he went to work. And for some reason, something told him to go get me food and come back to the house and bring it to me. So he comes back there around 4:30. And at this point, I'm not proud of this, but this is what happened. So the second I got home, as an addict, whenever you're in active addiction, the only thing you can think about is getting your next fix. Regardless of what had just happened to me, I just overdosed. But the next 30 minutes, I was seeking ways to get more drugs instantly because I needed to fill that void within my soul. So I literally did the same stuff that had just killed me about 3 hours prior. And I overdosed again right on the kitchen floor. I don't remember anything. I remember walking out of my room, and that's it. So I fell on the fridge in a weird position, curled up in a ball. And my roommate comes upstairs, and he finds me blue on the floor again. And instantly he starts doing CPR. He calls the same paramedic crew that had just saved me 3 hours prior. Wow. And they came out, they administered another 4 doses of Narcan, and they brought me back. And at that moment, I was ready to accept help because my life was unmanageable and I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't want to die. As bad as it was, I didn't want to die.
Yeah, and you knew that basically your body was rejecting it in a way.
Right. Scary stuff.
That's how stubborn you are. You have to die twice in the same day to get a clue.
But, through that experience, it's allowed me to help so many people with what I went through. If anybody's listening that has gone through something similar, there's plenty of help out there. Just reach out. Just because you're feeling isolated, you're alone. There's people out there that have been through the same thing that you've gone through and that are there to help you.
Mm-hmm. Ed, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just wondering that you talked about the car accident and then the same paramedics coming up and you escaped all that, but were there any legal ramifications from it?
By the grace of God, no, they did not. In the county that this happened in, they don't have, the law where basically they offer treatment if you get caught with any narcotics on you. So by the grace of God, no, nothing ever happened to me, and I have a clean record to this day. I don't know how it happened, but I think, something was looking out for me throughout my years of addiction to where I have a bigger purpose in this world.
When you were in high school and you were on the opiates, what was your choice of drug on that?
So it started out as Percocet, and throughout the years, back then, this is 2004 through 2007, this is when the opiate epidemic really swept this county. So I used my MRI after I got out of high school to go into a pain management doctor, and they were just feeding me a bunch of pills. And at that moment, it turned into the oxycodone 30 milligram pills, which are also known as Roxys. And I would literally get 240 of those a month from one doctor, which is insane. Nobody needs to take that amount of pills, no matter if you have cancer or not.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. And now they're taking it all away.
I know.
Well, thank goodness. But at the same time, there's some people that actually need that stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the other part. I mean, people actually do need those things, but not for such a long period of time.
No.
And I think it's totally mismanaged, too, because it's just I don't want to get into the healthcare and the situation with people getting, free food and all this stuff. And some people go in there with my back is killing me, and they don't need the pills, and they're out selling them.
Right.
And that's another thing. You said you'd go to your drug dealer. You were lucky enough never to have to run into a sting operation when you got caught buying the stuff.
Right, yeah, and throughout the years, I unintentionally became a drug dealer as well because I was trying to feed my habit. It was so crazy, but, I got to a point where I was buying people's prescriptions out of the pharmacy to get, something in return because they didn't have any money, or vice versa. Whenever I ran out, they were doing it for me. It was just a crazy, unmanageable way of life for a long time.
And it's amazing that you realized that you finally needed help, and you didn't totally hit rock bottom, and you didn't find yourself handcuffed to a hospital bed to find out, hey, this is rock bottom. I've got to change myself.
Right.
So to do it on your own, granted, it took passing out twice and having to be revived twice. But when you finally woke up, did you just say it to yourself, or did you find a friend and say, hey, I got to do this?
Yeah.
Was it all you?
I had been in recovery for about the year prior to that. I didn't really do anything that I was supposed to do. I was kind of a dry drunk, as they say. I was kind of sober by my own will. And through that, I was miserable, and eventually the relapse happened. So I had a bunch of people in my life who supported me and wanted the best for me. So thankfully, they intervened after my roommate told them what happened. This is my starting lineup that I talked about, my close guys in my life. And they all came to the hospital. They prayed for me over my bed, and they just loved me when I couldn't love myself. And I think that was a huge moment in my life, because I finally realized that I'm not in this alone, and that these people want the best for me, so I got to start believing in myself.
Yeah. Peter Maiden Aaron said on Facebook, I've been doing ketamine and NAD infusions for clients in an outpatient setting for addiction and dual diagnosis, and the results have been incredible. Are you guys at all familiar with that?
So I've recently heard this. I've been working with one of my good friends, actually, who suffers with a severe anxiety and depression, and he was going to explore that. I've never personally worked with anybody that has experienced it, but I hear it's got great benefits. I'm just not very familiar with it.
Yeah, I hear about it, too, and we're going to have some people coming up on the show that are ketamine specialists, too. So thank you, Peter, for that, and I'd like to hear more about what you know. Later on. But, so it's like, and any comments, you guys are welcome to call in 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340, and join the discussion. And if you don't feel like calling in, it's okay to post things on Facebook. We'll read them when we can. But we're on Facebook Live at Tiffany Warner, and it's time for our second break, Ed. And we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Stay tuned.
We will return to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner after these messages.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. Living with a mental health disorder is not easy. If you or someone you know are struggling with this, please know it's so important to seek treatment, and I'm here to help. Please visit the website at momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com to view blog posts and resources on this site to help educate and inspire you to take action, because there's no shame in seeking help for mental health. While you're there, please take a few seconds to sign up for my email list. You'll get some extremely valuable educational and entertaining content that can be sent right to your inbox each week. Plus, you'll also get instant and free access to my guide on managing your anxiety. You can also follow me on Twitter at MOC with Tiffany and at Facebook at Tiffany Warner. And once again, the website is momentsofclaritywithtiffany.com. Thank you so much for your support and for listening to your show, because change can only come when we stand together as one. Hi, this is Tiffany Warner, your host of Moments of Clarity. I'd like to give a shout out to musician-songwriter Don Lawson, who wrote, produced, and performed all the vocals and instruments on my Moments of Clarity theme song. Don gained his inspiration as a mental health counselor himself. He's always looking for artists to record his songs, and you can hear more of Don's music at reverbnation.com/Don Lawson. You can also check him out on Twitter at Don Lawson Music. Thank you so much, Don, for your contribution to Moments of Clarity and ending the stigma on mental health. It's awesome.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Now back to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Warner, licensed mental health counselor. To engage in the conversation, call 866-826-1340. Here's Tiffany.
Hi, welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Moments of Clarity. My name's Tiffany Warner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. My guest today is a person that's recovering, and I'm transparent about his story. And he was once an addict, and I don't know how you phrase that now, but
Recovered addict.
Recovered.
Yeah.
But it really set off a baseball career and all things that just started from just an elbow injury during baseball, and prescribed opiates legally, and it got out of control. And we're talking about how easy that can happen. And you're welcome to call in and join the discussion, 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. And welcome back to Moments of Clarity, Stephen Sundquist.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think it's noted that also that for those just tuning in, that you actually overdosed twice in one day after leaving recovery, after almost killing yourself in a car accident.
Yep.
Yeah, and that definitely shows how it shows how overcome the addiction was with you.
Right.
I don't know how I was going to say that, but
it's sneaky.
overpowering.
It comes up on you when you least expect it if you're not applying the daily maintenance. To me, the components of recovery are having a spiritual connection, being authentic with others, being vulnerable with others, establishing that connection, and ultimately asking for help. And I'm at a place in my life where, yes, I may think I'm recovered, but I still do these things to maintain my sobriety, and I still ask for help when I need it. There's things that I don't really know what I'm doing with, and I feel like if I can remain teachable at life, or a student at life, that's what I need to do to keep myself centered on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how we're supposed to all be, but pride gets in the way, as you were saying before, ego,
right.
things. And it sounds like you had a good head on your shoulders. You come from a decent family and all that stuff, and they were supporting your athletic career. And at the time, you probably were doing what you thought was responsible so that you could be better at what you were passionate about.
Right, yeah. I come from a family of two loving parents. They're still together to this day, and they gave me pretty much everything I needed and most of what I wanted. They were the parents that would literally travel across the state of Florida, taking me to tournaments on the weekend for sports. They supported me in every single thing I did. I was just the one that never felt comfortable talking to them about what I was truly going through, and it had nothing to do with them. It was something that I suffered with. That vulnerability really made me feel fearful and discomforting. It just made a whole lot of discomfort for me from an early age, and
a lot of times people don't want to be honest because
they're fearful of judgment.
Or they're not ready to stop.
Right, exactly.
When you tell the truth, somebody's going to be like, okay, well, let's get you help. And a lot of people aren't ready for that reaction. Right. And most people aren't going to be like, well, I'll just stand by while you do heroin. Right. The chances of that is not going to happen. So a lot of people suffer in silence because they they're not ready to stop.
Yeah, I love that, suffering in silence. I said that a lot when I spoke in the schools because that's what it was for me in high school. I was literally a shell of a person, didn't know who to talk to. And I had literally the resource officer, my teachers, my coach, my peers. I had so many people that I could talk to. I could just never get the courage to go up there and talk to them.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know what the ramifications, if they're going to throw you off the team or what's going to happen. A lot of people, you mentioned before some of the excuses that you hear all the time of why people don't enter treatment.
Right, yeah, and that could be anything from, my dog's sick, my mom's in the hospital, I can't leave my job, or my job needs me. Well, at the end of the day, if you're using and you risk the possibility of death, you're not going to have any of those things anyways.
Right. Yeah, all of that can be taken from us at any moment if we're not doing something healthy for ourselves.
Right.
Leslie Levinson, hi, on Facebook, he says, what's your idea to bring more community action for a broken mental health care system to bring more programs?
So I think, honestly, in my experience with going through my speaking ventures, I feel like we need more people with lived experience that have overcome mental health or addiction to, create these programs. Like, for instance, I'm currently writing a workbook for the schools for these kids to identify their gifts and abilities, establishing those connections, and just basically the components that are important to me about my recovery. And I think leaving something like that behind for these kids every time I speak is going to help them so much more than us not even really being remembered every time we go in there and speak. So I think more awareness, more acceptability within the workplace for people to open up about how they're truly feeling and not having to worry about being fired. I think that's a huge one. And just more engagement, more connection with others, and just helping people know that it's okay not to be okay.
Right. A lot of people are afraid that they're going to go on leave for treatment and everyone's going to, the judging or whatever, the people going, what, you just went to rehab?
Right.
But on the flip side, most people would be like, hey, you just went to rehab.
Right.
A lot of people that suffer in silence think that no one knows.
Right.
But a lot of people have a clue when somebody's not, completely sober or not on the up and up.
Right.
they don't realize that people can tell.
Oh, for sure. And that's the thing about my addiction. I thought I was hiding it from everybody, but everybody knew.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you can get away with taking Roxy's, 240 of them or whatever a month,
it was
and
insane.
not look a little doped up.
Yeah, I literally lost like 45 pounds. I mean,